I am Kamal Dabawala and I am the coordinator of this event today. And we will be having a very exciting day today. Lot of new perspectives, insights, lot of things to learn and implement. So without taking much time, I would like to invite the president of AMA, Ahmedabad Management Association, a great personality, Professor, Doctor, CA, Savan Godiawala, sir. And I will request sir to come forward, give opening remarks, and also introduce our keynote speaker for the day, Dr. Savan Godiawala. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Kamal bhai. Good morning, everybody. A pleasant morning. Afternoons are little too unpleasant in Ahmedabad, but certainly thanks to our guests coming in, flying in for our annual conference. This is a very important conference, and this 22nd conference that we are having today. And certainly we look forward to a lot of learning. Every year I have attended many of the conferences in the past, and so many of them in the past also. And when the conferences are announced, certainly Unmesh bhai makes sure that the diaries of the people are blocked also, wherever you cannot travel on that day also. So thank you once again. HR, I was just telling Kamal bhai that this is the most important department of or function of any organization, because we do is people management more than any product management, any service management, any customer, any vendor, anything. People management and such a large field. Because I have worn that hat for some time, Rajan sir. I was wearing a hat of a talent partner at Ahmedabad Deloitte for some time, and I know that the talent becomes such an important part. As a role, HR has some, I don't know how many roles an HR plays, because appraisal is just one role, recruitment is one role, exit has become such a big role. Exit was some 10 things to do in exit, and exit were interviews taken in exit, and then one is talent, another is team events, and so many things. So HR is such an important thing, and rightly mentioned, creating value for business through HR. So HR creates value for business. HR creates that environment of the business. HR creates that communication, the collaboration that happens in the business, because of the which the business happens. And that is what we want to learn from the experts, of course, and that is what we want to also have knowledge from you guys who are participating. I'm so happy to see so many professionals today also in the room who are the HR professional. So this event happens once a year, annually, now 22nd annual conference. But we would like to have more. I was just telling Mr. Rajan that we would like to have you more often, and I was telling Unmesh bhai that we would like to have more HR events happening, because this is something which is very important for the purpose of growth of every organization, small to big. It is not about the big organization only. Small to big, people management. We all do is people management only. We do not sell product. We actually do people manage, that the product are manufactured in the right way and delivered in the right way and consumed in the right way manner. So that's the role, and I hope the session, this keynote session taken by Mr. Sundara Rajan. Sundara Rajan, sir, thank you once for again for coming. A man who was in the city before, how many years, sir? IIM alumni? 38 years when city stopped here, right? City, this was the end of the Ahmedabad city. When IIM Ahmedabad, he's an IIM alumnus. When Vastrapur was the end of the city, and now Vastrapur has become the part of the city. So I'll introduce the speaker, our keynote speaker, Mr. Sundara Rajan is an esteemed entrepreneur and IIM Ahmedabad alumni, 38 years, right, sir? Wow. Known for founding Thomas Assessment Private Limited, Market Research India, and People Matrix Private Limited. He is a visionary leader in talent assessment, market research, and people analytics, shaping these fields with innovative solutions and expertise. His ventures reflect a commitment to excellence and a passion for empowering businesses and individuals. So who better than the gentleman who is the founder of so many businesses to talk to us about again we have, sir, the theme topic for the keynote speaker also, creating value by contributing to business strategy. So we'll be happy to have little bit of a business strategy also in your speech. So thank you once again, sir, for coming and for delivering. We're waiting for the insightful address. As a token of appreciation, we'll give you a HR creates the rhythm. This is a kind of a flute, right? Over to you, sir. However you comfortable, you want to be sitting there, you want wherever, please.
Very good morning to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Savan Godiawala, for the kind words. Unmesh ji, Kamal ji, thank you for the hospitality and inviting me to be back in the city that has made me what I am today. I'm eternally grateful to the 2 years that I spent in the institute, because you come out of the engineering college as a fresh graduate and then they mold you into something that you can add some value to the society. Today, I'm going to speak about some of the ways by which the human resources function, especially the senior leaders in the human resources, can contribute to the business strategy. So I will have a question and answer session, because some of the topics that I talk about, you may have questions. The way I have structured is about 45 minutes where I will share my thoughts, and about 15 minutes for you to ask questions. And I understand at 11:15 there's a very important function, so we'll try and wrap up everything in the next 1 hour. So how can HR as a function contribute to the business strategy of the organization? That's what I'm going to touch upon. It's like Dr. Savanji said, this is a vast subject. I will touch upon some of the parts of it. There's much more than what I'm going to speak today. We could always look at it on offline basis. So if you look at today's business environment, you will notice there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of complexity, and there are issues which are interwoven. It's like what you see over there. It's like a ball of wool which has got mixed up, and you're not able to unravel it at all, and everybody is trying to pull at different directions. So let's look at what are the key resources for business. Any business today, there are 5. Broadly speaking, there are 5. One is financial resources. Second is physical resources, which is the manufacturing units, the plants, factories. And then you have digital resources. You may be wondering, why am I talking about digital resources as a separate as a resources? I think the business of tomorrow is going to be more digital than physical. We already are seeing companies which have only digital resources, yet they are much bigger than the companies with physical resources. This is the direction. This is probably it cannot change this direction. It's irrecoverably set. Businesses will become more digital going forward. So digital resources are critical. Then comes intellectual resources, which if you are a pharmaceutical company, you know the power of the R&D. If you are a company which is in cutting edge technology, you know the power of the intellectual resources. If you have the intellectual resources, it becomes monetizable, and that becomes your stream of money to invest back in the business. And finally, like Doctor mentioned, resources which is often taken for granted and never focused specifically, the humans who run the business, the human resources. Now, what happens? Very often you will notice this. Dr. Godiawala is an expert in mergers and acquisitions. If you have money, you can go and acquire something that you want. If I don't have tech, if I don't have digital resources, if I have funds, I can go and acquire a company with the technological resource. I can buy technology. I can even buy intellectual resources. I just have to buy out a company. But very often companies use the same mantra for handling human resources. Throw money at them. Does not work. Very often you find that it works partly, sometimes it fails fully, sometimes it works partially better. Why is it happening? Why is it this is a very, very complex and untamable kind of a resource? That's a question that businesses keep grappling with. While everything else is easily buyable with money, with financial resources, human resources seems to be tougher to handle even after throwing money. So what is it that we can do? What are the strategies that HR leaders can use in order to tame this, seemingly untamable resource. So let's look at, this is a refrain that everybody says, change is the only constant. Yes, it is. It is accelerating. That's the challenge. While we all have got used to a particular pace of change, the change has started accelerating. And AI is going to only accelerate it further. We'll talk about AI in a minute. But you will find there are multiple issues that are happening post-COVID in the organizations. Previously, if I were to work from home pre-COVID, you would have been probably denied and said, why don't you take leave if that is so important for you? And you would have accepted it as a norm. Post-COVID, we have a challenge because most people prefer to have flexible working arrangements. So some of the research, this is something that has come from Gartner, which is only 26% of the organizations feel that the employees fully comply with on-site employment. That means 3/4 of the companies say that some flexibility is required in order to be functioning as a business. There is a huge anxiety level in terms of the productivity. Employees, half of them feel that they have reached the top of their productivity, which means there is very little headroom for improving productivity. Hence, what do we do from here? And then you have, this is a very, very interesting part, mutual distrust, mistrust, whichever way we want to label it, that only half the people actually believe what their managers or the organization say. And the flip side is only half the organizations believe what the employees say. You have a mutual distrust and mistrust that is operating in the environment. Now that needs to be addressed because without that you can't go forward much. On the other hand, when you talk to the CEOs, you find that CEOs consistently speak about talent shortage. There is a dearth of talent. On the one hand, you have 140 crore population, but you find it, many of the CEOs here would actually admit to you, to find one person who actually fits your position is becoming tougher and tougher. And then we have the omnipresent AI and its impact on the organization and the workforce. In the short term, AI is going to actually improve the performance of the organization and the profitability of the organization. But in the longer run, you're going to have a big challenge as to what is the relevance of this when you have lots of disgruntled people in the organization. So AI is something that we have not got a grip on. It is going to create societal upheavals. It's also going to provide challenges for the organization to manage both the employees and the productivity. Now, the reason why I say this is very often, though if you are a listed company today in India, you have to declare your quarterly results. And every quarterly result is followed most often by an analyst meet or a con call, where questions get thrown at, and most of the questions focus on productivity, efficiency, profitability, growth in profitability. So it is very tempting for you as a CEO or as an MD to focus on answering the market rather than the organization. So when I say organization, I mean the people who make up the organization. This is too tempting because you do well on financials, you have an immediate blip on the upside in the markets. But at what cost is a question that you have to answer. And this is why I say AI is going to be a challenge even for the most mature MDs and CEOs of the organization, because it is too tempting to use AI in the short run to improve profitability and address one of the stakeholder groups, which is the investor group. So we looked at what are the 5 issues that HR leaders are grappling with today. First and foremost, surprise leader and manager development. There is a dearth of leaders, there is a dearth of managers. We will come and touch upon it in much more detail as we go along. Organization culture. What is it that we need to have as the culture of the organization, and how strongly should we ensure that it is followed in order that we flourish as an organization? Third, HR technology, don't have to go into that. AI is taking over. I'll share a few small snippets of how it is taking over some of the roles. Fourth is change mindset, whether we like it or not, change is happening. And finally, how do we manage the career and the internal mobility of people? These are the few issues that HR leaders grapple with on a daily basis. I try to distill it into 5 simple, more addressable issues. First, today in the organizations, we have a multi-generational workforce. There are people who are in the 50s, in the 30s, and in the 20s, and all of them having distinctly different outlook towards work, outlook towards life. Hence, how do you manage a multi-generational workforce in the organization is a challenge that all the CHROs face. Second, moving away from activity to productivity. If you've been in a commodity kind of a business, if you've been in a business where your revenues are protected, that you are foreseeable future, keep on doing what you're doing, you will be able to succeed. In which case, you start focusing on the process part of it, efficiency part of it, and continuous activity part of it. I'll take one simple example. I'm talking about an industry which is reasonably new to India, the BPO industry. Must have flourished in the last 20 years. Today, if you see what the chief of TCS says, I see call centers, which is primarily a BPO part, a future of 1 year, not more. Now, if that is what you're looking at, that's what he has said. In public, he has said that. Now, because that industry focused only on the activity, a particular activity repeatedly done years, day in and day out for years. So they got completely immersed in the activity and improving the process efficiency. Forgot that where are we getting the productivity part of it. Now the unfortunate truth is bitten them. Now they have to look at how do I use technology to improve productivity. Post-COVID, there are 3 types of organizations. In fact, within some organizations, there are 3 types of people. You have people who are working remote. You have people who are working hybrid. They come for a few days, they don't come for a few days. And there are people who are always in the office, How do you manage this? Because your single organization suddenly has got 3 sets of resources, human resources, each working in a different fashion. And that's a challenge by itself to manage these 3 groups of people. Fourth, irrespective of whatever I am saying, India as a country has been growing for the last 10 years and will continue to grow for the next 30, 40 years because we are on to a secular growth path. If this growth is going to happen, everybody in the industry is going to have growth. How do you manage this growth? Who is going to manage this growth? Where are we going to get the leaders? Where are we going to get the managers to take care of it? And that's an area that HR chiefs keep looking at as to how do I strengthen the managerial pool to handle the growth that is on the way. And finally, we like it or not, preparing the entire organization for an AI-ridden world, AI-driven world. It is going to come faster than we think, but we need to get the organization ready for it. That's a question that most CHROs have in their mind today. So let me try and address each of these one by one, and then we can go on to the questions. Managing multi-generational workforce. So what is the real issue? You have 3 broad groups of people working in an organization today. You have the Gen X, you have the millennials, and you have the Gen Z. Now, there is a lack of empathy. When I say lack of empathy for each group towards the other group. Why? Because we have already started stereotyping. The olders have started looking at youngsters as not really serious. And the youngsters have started looking at you're too fuddy-duddy. You're too controlling. Now, neither of them is true, but the stereotypes have started becoming stronger and stronger because the social media reinforces these stereotypes. You just have to go into LinkedIn. 2 days back, Anupam Mittal, one of the well-known investors, talks about the issue that he faces with the Gen Z. And it is there for you to see. Anupam Mittal is not a 50-year-old guy. He's in the early 40s. And he is instantly seeing that there is something wrong that's going there. Then we have to look at, imagine an organization of thousands of people. When you have groups like this happening, you're going to have friction, which is not open. The friction is not open. The friction is underlying. You're going to have passive resistance. You're going to have active withdrawal. All this, when it happens, what happens to the productivity of the organization? Goes for a toss. So lack of patience to understand the other's point of view. Neither of them is wrong. But the fact is, I am not patient. I don't want to wait and understand what you have as a point of view. When that happens, communication breaks down. When communication breaks down, the stereotypes harden, and thereafter you can't get away from that. So you have strong stereotypical behavior happening in organizations. What does it lead to? Big misunderstandings. Labeling some generation as lazy, not willing to work. And another person saying that rigid, autocratic. And then what happens? You reject. When you have these happening, you have initially loss of productivity. You feel it's just a small blip. Then disagreements come out in the open. Drama happens. You again have to go to Glassdoor to see the amount of drama that is going on. It is not everything is true. There is an iota of truth, but that gets blown out of proportion to make it look as though the organization is a monster, the manager is a monster, forgetting that the manager also is a human being who was in your shoes 5 years back, 4 years back, whatever. But the drama that gets played out is so huge, it leads to attrition. The minute you're gone to social media and started bad-mouthing your manager or bad-mouthing your organization, the seeds of your attrition is already drawn, put up in your head. You are moving. Now, it just goes back to HR manager saying, where am I going to fill the people? So you have a cycle that is going on, which is a cycle which is going to drag the organization down faster than it ever envisaged. So you have this challenge coming up in every organization. It is not peculiar to large organizations. It is every organization is going to face this challenge. So where is the solution for this? The first thing is to understand that multi-generational workforce actually provides you a huge safety net as an organization, because diverse viewpoint. There is no need to believe that somebody who has got 25 years of experience is always right. And there is also no need to believe that the person who has got only 1 year experience is always wrong. You have points of view. If you are clever, if you are smart, you will accept both points of view and blend it to ensure that what the organization should be doing. Most of us are not so, let's say, use the word very carefully, wise to accept different points of view. We feel that we are right and the other person is wrong because we have experience, others doesn't have experience. So the first thing, a multi-generational workforce provides the organization with ample number of ideas and points of view which it can take in order to become better. The second, you have different skill sets that can be transferred. One advantage of an experience is that the experience provides you opportunity to grow your skill sets. You see many more situations and you learn from those situations and you keep it in your brain for future. When you have that, the younger generation or the newer employees can actually learn from you in order to do better. Now, very often organizations forget it, go to one direction, always depend on the experience, more often than not experience, and then lose out on the new ideas that are coming in from the younger generation. So I want to, I don't know how many of you have seen this movie, The Intern. Has any one of you seen the movie? It's a fascinating understanding of how different generations can actually work together once they understand each other. In fact, if you think back on the movie, in the early stages, when an elderly person who was a CEO, ex-CEO, comes back to be a mentor to a startup CEO, initially there's a tremendous amount of friction. Because whatever I said, there is a stereotyping that goes on in your head saying that that's not right, this is right, that is not right. And when they start understanding each other, they start drawing upon each other's strengths and make the organization come out of a mess. Now, how many of us have that wisdom or the patience to understand you can actually learn from another person? Just because somebody is older or younger doesn't mean that the person does not have ideas. So that's why I wanted to bring it in, because that movie brings out a powerful message that you can actually work together irrespective of age and make the organization survive and sustain. So some of the companies have actually started doing it in India. I'll just share a couple of them. So people have started focusing on skill-based employment. So currently, very often we look at the CV, which is basically knowledge. some experience, people have started looking at what skills do you bring into the table. So even if you are older, it doesn't matter. If you have bringing in a skill which I need, I am ready to accept you as a part of the employer pool. Equal access to training and reskilling programs is happening. It is going to increase more as the AI comes in. Reorganizing transferable skills over prior experience and qualifications is happening. And finally, from the organization's point of view, why would you let go of a person just because the person is 60? If the person has knowledge, skills, and learned something over the last 20 years, high up in the knowledge curve, are you not just throwing away something into the dustbin, thinking that just because you're aged, you're not good enough to be in the workforce? Some companies have realized it. So I'll just share two. Tata, as a company, as a group, has now got a second career program for women because it realized that women in Indian context, in the Indian social context, you cannot take anything out of organizations, not outside the society. It's a part of the society. So very often women prefer to care for the family and leave and sacrifice the career till the time the child is 5 or 6 years old, which is on its own. And thereafter, because of the inertia that is built in, they probably never go back to workforce. But they have the talent. The same person 5 years back was considered to be good enough to be promoted. And she chose to take a break for the sake of the family. And now Tata's offer a second career program for women, which also provides, now they didn't start now, they started 4 or 5 years back. Before the COVID, they started this. And they provide flexibility. Second, Godrej & Boyce, a company that we work with very closely, when they have talented people, even when they retire, they provide extensions in the form of consulting assignments to them, and they keep them very close to the organization for another 5 years. Because you have extremely valuable knowledge and you're so high on skill sets. Why would I just let you go just because your number is 60? So some organizations which have the wisdom of ensuring that we need to have the talent with us have started using it extensively. And I'm sure a few more will start coming in. Then we come to the second issue that we face, activity to productivity. Now, a larger question, this does not have a simplistic answer, a larger question. Do people come to work only for salary? Most organizations, especially in the past, used to think it's a transaction. You come work for 20 days, I pay you X amount of salary. That's a very transactional way of looking at it. What we have forgotten is that India as a country has actually grown economically. I would just request that I see a lot of people who are, pardon me, I don't mean any disrespect, 40 plus in this room. Just look back on your college days and look back in your son or daughter's college day. You will instantly realize the change and the prosperity that has come into the India's economic scene. We have grown as a country. We have grown as a society economically. And we are living much better off compared to what our parents were, definitely what we were when we were young. When given this, salary alone does not make a difference to the person who is working with you. Most organizations have not realized it. The Maslow's hierarchy, India has crossed the bottom level. It has probably crossed the second level also. Safety is in place. Now, it is for us as employers, it is for us as the HR leaders to understand this phenomena and start looking at what motivates people who are coming into workplace today. The Gen Z, we keep on complaining that Gen Z is casual, the Gen Z is lazy, the Gen Z is not attentive. No, there's something else that is happening. You need to understand that. And Narayana Murthy once famously said, our assets walk out of the door every evening. We have to make sure that they come back the next morning. But the question is, how do you make sure they come back next morning? He's right. Today, a youngster has got multitude of opportunities. Probably they can take a break here even after joining work. That's the truth of the India's young youth today. If this is the case, we need to bring in intrinsic motivation to come back to work and work. How do we do that? What makes your company, what makes your employment relevant to the Gen Z is the key question. And we also need to realize Gen Z prefers to live a fishbowl experience or a fishbowl life. What do I mean by fishbowl? You see a fishbowl, you can see what it is doing on every second. You just have to sit in front of it. You can watch everything. And that is what, in fact, I had a glimpse of it in the morning when my AMA coordinator came and asked me, what's your Facebook profile name? I said, does Facebook also have a profile name? I didn't know that. And she said, you don't know? Yeah, I didn't know. And she taught me how to do it. In fact, I learned from her saying that this is where you have to find your Facebook profile. And I did that. Now, when I asked her why Facebook, this is an interesting thing, because I very proudly said, my LinkedIn profile is so-and-so, ends with Rajan Sundara. He said, no, I don't want that. I want Facebook. I want Insta. Now, that is the fishbowl existence that we are talking about. Today's youth live not only physically, they also have a metaverse in which they live, which is where they have the connections. This is just one part of their life, and that probably is a bigger part of their life. So what we need to do is to look at psychological payoffs, not just monetary payoff. More often than not, organizations focus on monetary payoffs and believe that salary is the be-all, salary, incentives, variables, whatever is the be-all and end-all of the transaction. No, it is not. So we need to look at psychological payoffs. So what psychological payoffs am I talking about? There is a glue that you can use. It's a magic glue. This is a simple thing I'm sharing with you. Those who are employers here, please look at it. There is a magic glue that you need to understand. The magic glue is made up of 5 or 6 things. First, your employees have to get likes. The more thumbs up, the more heart symbols you have, the more claps they have on their Facebook, on LinkedIn, you got it. Second, visibility. They want to be visible. They don't want to be visible to the whole world. They have their own world. They have their reference group. In that reference group, they want to be visible. Can I take you as an example? If you don't mind. Now, today evening, you go to her Facebook. I'm definitely telling you, you're going to see her. I was the coordinator for the session for AMA, and then there are going to be thousands of claps and thumbs ups over there. That's what they look for, because that's the visibility they are not looking. They are not looking at visibility elsewhere. They want to be visible in their own circles. Growth that shows that they have achieved something. We're not talking about title growth. In fact, I'll share one example without the name of the company, name of the bank. So when I passed out, we were very jealous of those people who got into this foreign bank. They started as management trainees, and 1 year later they became assistant vice presidents. हम तो sales executive थे, marketing executive थे, इनको तो vice president हो गए. After 5 years we asked them, what are you? We are still assistant vice president. Then it came to our knowledge that there are 7 levels of assistant vice president over there. For the next 15 years they will be AVP only. Now, but then this is not what they're looking for. They want growth that means something, that establishes to the rest of the people, especially their core group, the peer group, that they have achieved something. Friendly vibes. I think the command and control has its role in certain industries, but the command and control probably will not work where you are delivering value through people. So if you have a command and control structure, it's time to inject a bit of flexibility over there. Command and control helps to predictable performance comes out of command and control. But if you want extraordinary performance in today's world, probably you need to look at some amount of flexibility, which is why friendlier vibes, lesser hierarchy, or even if there is a hierarchy, don't show the hierarchy. Even if you have a hierarchy, clearly laid hierarchy, learn to mask it and become closer to the youngsters, because they want to be treated as equal. So understand that. Unique benefits from the company. Now this is, so I have a friend who runs a company. He buys from one of the service providers who provide only benefits. He buys short retreats. He calls it short retreats. It's only 2 nights. And you can give it to any employee. He buys in bulk. So he buys 500 in bulk and he hands it out every week to 3-4 people kind of thing. Now, the cost is nominal, but the perceived value is enormous. Because the perceived value is you take your entire family out with only the travel expenses. It may not be 200, 300 kilometers max. You can drive down in 2 days and you have a comfort of a resort and you enjoy. And more than that, you click pictures and put it in Facebook, and you know that the last point that I'm coming, a bit of jealousy from everybody, which is something that everybody wants. I want to do something that everybody would be envious of. If everybody is doing it, then it is not something that is, I want to do something unique. I want to do something that I can, please pardon my language, brag about. I want to brag about it. I want to brag about it in social media. She's smiling. I know that I hit right. So this is something, what I am asking is, move away from the traditional model of management. Get closer, understand this is a generation. The Gen Z lives a fishbowl existence. Accept that. Don't put it down. Don't put it down, because they are not going to change. They are not going to change. Hence, it is better for you to flex yourself. Third, probably not spoken about issue, but very much real in most organizations. COVID has opened up a lot of issues. The first and foremost issue for organization is that work from home has become common. So if work from home has become common, how do you bring people back to the office now that we are far away from COVID? Now, some companies have taken the tough route, saying that you don't come back, you're out of the organization. Because maybe their business runs on people being there in the office. Some have taken the easy way out, saying that work from home all the time. I know smaller IT companies have actually succumbed to it. Today, I have some vendors who provide service to us. 8-member, 10-member team, not a single, they have given up their office in Gurgaon. He says it's a cost saving. They are sitting in somewhere in Almora, somewhere in Rishikesh, somebody is in Agra, but work still gets done. But God forbid, if I have to connect 3 people together and get something out of 3 people, it is going to take 2 days. This is the reality of the workforce. I'm sure those who are in the IT industry, especially in South, there have been instances, hundreds of people who have said that we don't want to come back to office. I come from a village. Why should I come to Bangalore, which is horrible in terms of traffic? Now water issue is also added on top of it. It's an existence that is always cutting me all the time. I would rather live in a small town. I'm living in Salem. I will come once a month. I'll come once a month to office. We'll be together, have a meal. I don't think we achieve anything. It's just a get together and go back. This is reality of work life. It is happening in Bangalore. You just have to go and ask. Nobody will tell you openly, but it's happening. So the issue is that this creates tension within the organization. Now you've got 2 sets of people. One who work from home and one who work in office. And the one who work in office believe they have been done in. And the one who work from home believe that they never get promotion because these guys are closer to the management. You see how this whole thing gets played out. So the grass is seen always greener on the other side, and it is happening here. Now this is a challenge that organizations have to resolve. So if you look at some of the global organizations like Accenture, they have now said, I give you flexibility. 3 days in a week, you have to be in office. Which 3 days you decide with your team leader. Other 2 days you can work from home. We are comfortable with it. Many of them have accepted that. And once somebody sets that, everybody starts following it. TCS, on the other hand, has taken the other step, extreme step. Says, hey, we all are going to work from office. If you don't come in, well, I think it is end of the road for our working together. And knowing the TCS culture, probably you never get a chance to come back again. So this is a kind of a end of a relationship. So people have taken different kind of approaches to this, but this is a real issue that is happening. It may not be seen much in manufacturing industry or chemical industry, which is common in the Gujarat belt. But as you go to Gurgaon, Noida, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, where ITES is the key driver of business, this is a huge issue, especially for the mid and smaller size companies, because they don't have the power to hold people. They can't throw money at anybody. So you got to find a way to manage this issue. And these numbers are very large. This is not small numbers. Thousands of companies face this problem. The other thing that I spoke about very briefly is that there is a lack of communication if you're not coming to office. You can't, what normally would have taken 5 minutes to get sorted, takes 5 hours because that person is not there. Or it gets bounced off 2 levels. or the person is busy with something else. So, and interdepartmental issues start happening because why did you not meet the project deadline? Because that department was not there, working from home. They are not given me delivered the thing. So finger pointing starts. Now, delays, errors, lost opportunities, loss of business, feeling failure as a failure. It all are started happening with work from home and in office teams working together. In fact, this is a funny tweet. It came last week. There's a guy who runs a hedge fund in US. He says, I go to the public parks and find out who are the people who are sunbathing there, ask them which company are they working. And I identify the number of people from the same company and go and short the stock. He's shorting the stock. And he says, my returns till date, year to date, 728%. It's there in Twitter. So you know the real other ugly reality of work from home. It's true that people have taken this work from home as an opportunity to probably laze off. And somebody else he's actually benefited from it and he's put it up over there and he puts it up with pictures. He's put it up with pictures in terms of 3 cities in US where lots of people sunbathing. And this guy comes and says, he's not given the name of the companies, but he said, my return so far is 728%. That tells a story. So where is the solution for this? It's important for us to get the teams connected. And when you get the teams connected, you are transform personal performance as well as the organizational performance. Both go up. How do you do that? I'm going to share one very, very extreme experiment that is being conducted by a company called Verkada. They call it 333. So it says, I will allow any 3 employees after 3 p.m. when they come to office after 3 p.m. to have food and drinks up to $30 or 30 euros. No questions asked. You take a selfie of the 3 people, location, geotag it, put the time, $30 is yours, enjoy your day. In a way, you're creating forced connect. Now understand, organizations have realized that without connects, without human interaction, it is not going to be effective in terms of delivering results to your clients or to your business. They've gone to the extent of creating such experiments that ensure that you are forcing connect between people. On the other hand, you have people like TCS who say, no, you have to come to office, which is also forced connect, but without the perks. But people have realized work from home has run its course. You can't have too much of this quote unquote good thing of work from home. Time for people to connect. And most CHROs, especially in the IT, ITES, BPO, services industry, are facing this as a challenge. Let me come to the other point, the 4th point that we were discussing. How do we handle the growth that is on the anvil? In fact, somebody today while discussing was talking about a company, I think it was during the breakfast, that XYZ company has got an order book of 1 lakh crores. Order book of 1 lakh crores and their turnover is about 15,000 crores, which means even with the acceleration, they have order book for 5 years. How do you handle this growth? I'm sure many of the companies in this country have big order books today and they have a challenge in terms of executing it. Where do you get the managers from? Which brings us to 2 questions. Number 1, many of the managers that we have, manager as a title, or if you're an American company, director as a title, or individual contributors who do not manage anybody. Classic example, go to your bank. If you're a private bank user, you will get a relationship manager. The minute you start talking to the relationship manager, you will realize that the person has got just 1 year experience, has never handled anything. And if the person has got experience, they have back office experience as a kind of a pseudo promotion, they've been called a manager. This is the reality of life in India. The ability to manage humans, their emotions, and get work out of them is a challenge for most organizations. Most companies have thrown money. No disrespect to anybody. They put them through training, they put them through leadership training, they put them through performance improvement programs, everything. But the fact is that if you have never handled the people as a leader, as a manager, it is going to be tough for you to even visualize what is coming your way. Hence, managers are cracking. You look at the number of resignations in the third, fourth year of their employment with an organization. When you are asked to manage people, people give up. People give up and stick around with maybe accepting that, I am not going to be a manager, or they crack and go out. But going out is not going to solve the problem, because wherever you go, you are never going to be able to manage anybody. And this is the real issue. If this is not sorted, if this is not aligned, as a country, we are going to have what I call as a hourglass figure. You're going to have on the top lot of experienced managers, and you've got lots of people at the bottom who have no experience of working. And in the middle, which is the critical part, the stem is going to break very quickly, in which case you're going to have the hourglass broken. This is an issue as a country we have. Everywhere we go, every client that we work with, we face this challenge. So what is missing? The missing link is the human link. So most of us, if you ask any of the employees today, more often than not, you will find that I don't know those who are around me, they don't fit in here. My manager really does not care about me. He does not get me. The person drives me crazy. I can't work with this person ever. We just started working 3 months back. That's the way you look at it. My team is spinning on its wheels on the project. It is not getting any fruition, any traction. Again, pardon the language, work sucks. These are some of the common phrases that you hear from the people in the organization. But what we need to do is, I understand myself and I understand others and I understand where they are coming from. I'm willing to give them some space. I'm ready to be patient, understand them. And my manager gives me understanding and shows interest in me. These are the things that you want to create. How do you do that? First is, not everybody can be a manager. This is the first realization that we need to get. Most organizations promote the best performer. Need not necessarily be the best manager. Very often, some people are destined to be individual contributors. Some people are destined to be team managers. Can you identify those who have the talent of becoming managers and leaders? That's the first thing. Second, align the aspirations of the talent and then with the organization. Are we doing it? If not, you're going to have parting of ways sometime later. And finally, nurture the talent. How do you nurture the talent? Instead of talking about theory, I'm going to share a couple of tested Indian strategies. These are, the first one that I'm sharing, it proudly calls itself the CEO factory. Has produced more than 400 CEOs who are across the globe now. It's a leading FMCG. They have potential leaders differentiated on two sides. They look at the performance, which is what did they do? And they look at potential as to how did they do it. There are two things that they look at. The how focuses on 4 aspects. Is there a bias for action? Is there entrepreneurship demonstrated? Are they agile? Are they customer centric? Keeping this in mind, they create an inverted well, and only 10% of the identified people get to the tag of a leader. That's a tough one. Just 10% of people who are shortlisted to be good performers get the tag of becoming a leader, going to the next level. And within the functions, they even have much tougher limits. These get quicker promotions. These get the tough, stretched targets, and they have to handle key projects all way beyond their level, current level or the next level. And there they have to prove themselves that they are able to mobilize the people, mobilize all the resources to get results. And that's how they identify the leaders. The second one, again, a very large NBFC, which operates in about 600 districts of India. That should give you the idea of the coverage that they have. 626 districts, they operate in 600 districts. Dramatic growth envisaged in next 5 years, which is true of all the financial services companies. So they have a practice of catching the leaders young. They call it Chakraview. We design it and we run it. It's been covered by the Economic Times. If you go to YouTube and look at Chakraview Economic Times, you will see us there. What they do is, the top 50 performers in the company, so the first shortlisted 50 performers, top 50 performers, they're taken to a small town in India. It's typically a mix of mostly rural, some urban, something like a Nadiad. So where it's not a big city, but it is not known to everybody. And what we do is we take away all their possessions. their wallets, credit cards, cell phones, laptops. We tell them keep only your clothes. We give them a place to live. We say your breakfast and dinner will be served. It's a 4-day program. First day we tell them go out into the city. Find out the opportunity that you can capitalize on. As a group of 4 people, there are 20 people, 5 teams. As a group, go out, identify the opportunity to make money as an entrepreneur. So they go out, they identify, they come back, and we have the assessors who act as angel investors. They say, I have 10,000 rupees for you. We are not looking at some big money. 10,000 rupees for you. If you wish, I can lend you more, but initial seed capital is 10,000. Here is the 10,000. Go and run the business. First, they make a pitch as how I will make money. Go and run the business. Every day evening, they come back and show the P&L. And if they want, they can borrow more. They have the flexibility to change their strategy on a daily basis. For 3 days, they run, and they are watched, video recorded every step of what they do. There are people who withdraw when they hit the first failure. There are people who fail, pick themselves up, motivate others, and make the team go forward. We watch everything. I'll give you simple examples. We took this. One of the sessions was in Mysore, in Karnataka. It's inside. It's not a small city. It's not a big city. It's a city, a more rural flavor to it. So they found that the Mysore bus stand was the best place to get most people who are coming from different villages nearby. So they started selling their stuff there. Everything was good for 1 hour. Police came. They said, pack up and leave. First thing they said, where is your ID card? They showed the ID card. They said, this is so-and-so company. You don't have ID card of Mysore municipality. Out. Now, these guys were staring at having invested 10,000 rupees, got only 500 rupees so far. 9,500 rupees is going to be confiscated. Forget about, it's going to be confiscated. And they learned how to handle with the policemen. These are all from UP and Punjab and Haryana, sitting in Mysore. They cajoled. We don't know what they did. They took him aside. They got the material back after 1 hour and they sold everything at the end of the day. That taught them a very interesting lesson in life, that you are going to have problems which come from the most unexpected quarters. I'll share another one which happened in a city called Satara. Now Satara in Maharashtra, near Pune, about 4 hours drive from Pune, was ruled by a king. It was Satara, there was a king. And the king's lineage is still there, very active in the politics. So our friends started doing kokum sharbat and vada pav. This is the game that they were, vada pav, kokum sharbat. Everything was going fine. No, vada pav and lassi, Punjabi lassi, because they wanted to differentiate. They said Punjabi lassi. So one adda gadda admi came in a Scorpio and said, Saab bula raha aapko. I said, Kaun saab? Baito gaadi mein baito, chalo, dhanda band karo. And then he goes there and the person says, what are you doing? Who are you? What are you doing? Because local vendors have complained saying that somebody has come from Punjab and they are selling Punjabi lassi, hamara to dhanda kat raha hai idhar. Zara isko dekho kya kar raha hai. So these guys explained. They said, you should have come and told me first. Look at how the rural India works. You should have come and told me first. You would never have to lose this revenue. Chalo koi baat nahi. He says, told them, let these boys work for 3 days. Koi isko touch nahi karega. Another reality of India. So you can be an entrepreneur sitting in Mumbai or Delhi, but the minute you go down to a smaller town, you realize India is very different. And how do you handle yourself when you are faced with such unexpected issues? And how do you handle it? Because authority need not be the government authority. There are unspoken social authority that is there, which you have to take on your side. It's a stakeholder. If you go against them, you say, I'm an Indian citizen. As per the constitution, I've got the right to do whatever I'm saying. You're not going to get anywhere. So you learn the art of negotiating and running through hoops in order to achieve results. They learned it. Now, what the company does is they keep on watching. Who is the person who is taking the initiative to come out of this? Because they are dealing with rural folk. So you go to a village, Sarpanch is the most important person. You cannot cut the Sarpanch and try to do your business yourself. You've got to learn. You may be an MBA from I am Ahmedabad, but there he's the king. So you better understand that equation and then find a way to deal with that person. They watch who is the person who is able to flex and blend and still achieve results. They take them in, give them very fast track projects to groom them further. Now, what I am coming to is you need to identify the leaders early in the cycle and groom them and keep them with you so that you are able to nurture the organization. You're not going to nurture them. They will nurture themselves. You're nurturing the organization. You are ensuring sustainability of the organization and managing growth. And that's what these companies are doing. The last, preparing for AI. I'm not going to talk about AI. I'm going to share with you some of the things that are happening in the HR field with AI. So the traditional model of recruitment is that you have a job, you put it in the job board like a Naukri, or you put it in LinkedIn, or you tell your friendly HR consultant saying that I need people, or you tell your friends and relatives I need people. Days are gone. Today you have AI systems which actually, in fact, most of the screening, for instance, there are companies which get a ratio of 1:20,000. One job, 20,000 applicants. No HR executive, recruitment executive will be able to scan through all this. So they use AI to scan through and shortlist the top 100. And then they run tests, again, automatically run. There are interviews done automatically by the AI to look for, and it transcribes and gives it to you immediately. You just have to Google. I don't need to tell you, just Google, you will find all of them. Where AI is now gone to the extent of giving you the last 5, these 5, decide which one you want. It does it. You have companies which have started looking at pre-selected people in the campus. So previously we also used to go to campus, we used to run tests, we used to run interviews and tell Infosys and saying that out of the 1,000 people who are in this college, this 75, 80 are worth considering. In our view, this 25 should be given an offer immediately, the rest 50 you decide. Today you have systems which actually pre-qualify people and they say, here are the people you can take. And there are systems which actually produce people exclusively for the industry that if you're focused on telecom or backend for telecom, there are colleges which produce graduates, qualified, tested, saying that they're ready for absorption right into your stream. We have reached that point. AI is very well entrenched in the recruitment space. Second, the first interface that a newcomer has with the organization is onboarding. Most large organizations have moved on to digital onboarding. Everything about the company, everything about the processes, everything about administrative things, all moved to AI. It's just catching up. We used to have employee satisfaction survey every year. Today you can do it every hour. You have continuous monitoring systems that are available through AI, where you get to know what is the feeling of not everybody, but a slice of the organization, and you can analyze it whichever way you want. In fact, if there are anybody here who are interested in data analysis, there is this AI called Julius.ai, Julius.ai. Just test it out. You put in some 10,000 records over there with, let's say, every state-wise, 26 states. You tell it, give me a breakup, give me the analysis state-wise. It takes 2 minutes. It gives you a complete table and a graph. 2 minutes. And it writes the code in front of you. So you can copy and paste the code also. If you're a Python, you can copy and paste the code also. That's all. So now we are looking at something that accelerates productivity. It is there. It's there everywhere. So we can't get away from this. So AI, you need to learn to master this dragon. It's a dragon. You need to learn to master this dragon. The last thought that I have, HR is no longer just HR. You can call it people relations, you call it public relations. HR has to don the hat of a PR. Why is it so? Employee experience is valued much more than ever before. Again, because of social media, because you can express yourself openly, you've got to be careful about what people talk about you in public. So you just have to, again, I talked about Glassdoor, you have to go to Glassdoor, Ambition Box, you can find the number of lies, innuendos, and misrepresentations that are galore in job boards, which is unbelievable. So, but when you keep on repeating it, it looks like as though it is truth. It is not truth, but it is, it is not truth, but it is there. So bad reviews have a greater impact than good reviews. That's the other side, which is true of anything. Be it customer, be it employee, bad reviews have got a greater impact. So you've got to be careful. So in a talent scarce world, HR needs to learn the art and science of people relations or public relations. How do you project your organization as the organization to work for and ensure that that is met, the expectations are met when they come in. Both have to be done, because if the expectations are not met, they are going to walk away after a month. So HR itself is in a glass bowl now. The organization itself is in a glass bowl now. We talked about youngsters being in the glass bowl. We are also in the glass bowl. It's important for us to recognize that. And hence, whatever we do should be in such a way that nobody can point a finger at us. And we present ourselves in the best possible way. I say HR plus ER, human resources plus human relations plus employee relations plus public relations is the consummate HR professional today. That person has to be all three in order to master the art of making the organization the best place to work for. Finally, a few things. As a company, we have always stood for fairness and robust science. Everything that we do in Thomas is based on science. These are very, very well-known professors who have created the products, which stood the test of time, experimented, tested by British Psychological Society before they ever come into the country. Every country, the norms are set. For India, it's the Indian norms that are set. And our reports always have been constructive in content. We never speak about the dark side. Everybody has got a dark side. So easy to pinpoint negativity. We focus on the constructive side. Fairness, reliability, inclusivity, we consider them to be fundamental, and that's what we live for. Thank you for listening to me so patiently. Join us on the journey to transform the workplace. Thank you.
We can take some questions. There are any? Yes, please.
So you said that it is more now required to give employees a very friendly vibes and all. So how to just strike a balance between the HR policies, rules, regulation, the office organizational decorum, and this friendly vibes.
Very interesting question and a challenging one. There are companies which provide a kind of a 7-day or a 15-day transition from campus to career. There are companies who do the transition training also, because where the challenge comes is the young employee does not realize he or she has moved from campus where anything goes to a career where only certain things go. Start with simple things like grooming. Now, I have seen people come with, for sake of simplicity, I'm taking this, unshaven to an office. Now, if you're going to be dealing with corporate world, I think it's a no-no. You can't come to an office in a t-shirt when you have, or slippers, when you know that you have a meeting or your job involves meeting corporates. Yes, you have freedom to dress, but the freedom stops at a point where it starts interfering with your career. It's not only your career, you are also representing an organization. You have a responsibility. If it is cutting into your responsibility, you are doing a disservice to yourself as well as to your organization. Now, when does the realization start? This is the challenge. Now, I'm going to go back 15 years and I'm going to share with you a simple incident that happened, which happened in front of me. This is one of the largest oil PSUs in the country, very well run. And it was a head of marketing, having called advertising agencies for a pitch. 3 agencies shortlisted, and one of how many of you are here from advertising agency, or how many of you dealt with advertising agencies? You will realize the creative persons believe that being unique, and they take it to a different extreme. You have ponytails to guys having shoulder length hair kind of thing, just goes. And this person came. This is the person who is a Spock, single point of contact, came without wearing a tie. Just came without wearing a tie. The head of marketing said, would you have gone to, he said, ABC, MNC company in this dress? So I know you are from MNC. He says, please change and come back. Otherwise, you are not getting into the pitch. So it is from those days, we have come a long way. But yet, it is important for the employee whichever, you can be funky. Post office, nobody bothers. But in office, there is a decorum to be maintained. It is better to set it right in the beginning, saying that this is done, this is not done. You can't come with a t-shirt and unshaven if you are going to be facing a client. No, you can go back, change and come back. But how many of the HR managers, how many of the leads have the courage to tell that person? Now that's the difference between a typical manager and a potential leader. You have to stand up and take the decision. Yes.
I just want to add on to my question that the problem arises in most of the part of the punctuality where it is concerned. The people who are actually the key people of the organization, they do work for the longer hours, and now they are negotiating it with the punctuality of them. So there is where the actually we face the challenge as a HR professionals, that they might ask for the negotiation at the part of the punctuality, the late come policy, everything they do.
So flexi hours, in my view, you should allow for a different, very practical reason. I'm telling you, Ahmedabad is probably blessed in that way. You don't have too many traffic jams. You just go and live in Bangalore for a week, go and live in Mumbai for a week, or Delhi for a week, and you will realize that to hit the office exactly at 9:30 or 10 o'clock is a challenge for everybody, including the MD. So flexible, and say, in fact, we have had issues where some people lost their limbs because they tried to catch a running train because they have to be in office. I have an office, neighboring office. They punish people for coming 2 minutes late, more than 1 minute late. They cut half a day. I'm saying that is inhuman, because you know what is happening out there. You just have to stand, just look out of the window. You see that half a kilometer of traffic jam. Why would you want to cut a person's salary for half a day for 1 minute being 1 minute late? Have that amount of humanity you should have. So we have a flexi hour. We say you clock in early, clock out early, clock in late, clock out late. That flexibility, I don't think that is wrong. Given the circumstances in most cities in terms of traffic, please allow the flexibility. Don't be rigid on the time. Because being rigid on the time, you believe that if they come in time and sit idle, I'm willing to pay them. Whereas if they come in late and they work hard, actually you should be paying them more.
Right, so thank you. One another question, please. You have mentioned about the psychological payoffs. Certain organizations are also very, strict upon giving the half-day leave or certain hours leave on birthdays of them, right? Anniversary is different, but for birthday, which is the very personal occasion and a special day of one's, there are how to deal with that. I mean, the argument from the management is like that you just celebrate your birthday. He is speaking to the employees that you celebrate your birthday in organization, in this organizational family, and then at the night you spend with your friends and family.
So actually we have a policy. We had a policy which is known as happiness time off.
Yes.
And happiness time off applies to everybody, whoever wants to. Now it so happens that sometimes you are in such an important assignment that you cannot take a time off on your birthday also. And that certainly would depend on how important, but otherwise it becomes your right to take a half day off on your birthday is what a policy. But anything that becomes a policy makes life easy. So management would have to realize that if this is made a policy, and then of course even if you are eligible for the 21 days of leave in a year, it still depends on how burdened you are. You cannot take off when there is an important work going on. So same thing should happen ideally as policy. Flexi hours also should become a policy, and it can also be 1 hour early, 1 hour late. It may not be like somebody says I will come at 5 in the morning and leave at 12 in the afternoon. No. So you can say if you're 9:30, 8:30 and 10:30, then now that makes little flexibility, makes comfort to the people also, and then of course people don't have to get into that stressful mind to reach there on time. We can take more questions,
Thank
of course.
you so much.
Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, at the last row.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Regarding remote working, you have shared a few of the insights which were particularly more related to IT industry. But if we see the challenges at the manufacturing side, then it's way more beyond. So do you see there is any chance of cartelization between IT industry and manufacturing industry so that you can say entire of the ecosystem can perform better?
I'll just share the experience that I have with some of the manufacturing companies that we work with. What they have done is to, as far as the manufacturing, the plant is concerned, the factory is concerned, I don't think you could have anything like remote working. This is out of question. But for those who are in the administrative roles within the organization also, they have been able to work out a policy, like he said, saying that you can do remote work every alternate week, because in most of there is another issue that you have not spoken about. I'll speak about it in open. Manufacturing organizations typically work 6 days a week, and most of the service industry works 5 days a week. Now that cuts the people in the organization saying that I am only in the service industry like anybody else. HR, legal, finance, admin. Why should I be working 6 days a week when all my colleagues, peers are working 5 days a week? So they have provided alternate week work from home. They have provided. Now, there is a solution to these. These are not non-solvable solutions. It's just a question of having that mindset which is flexible, which is practical. We don't want to let anybody down because they require support. At the same time, you are not going to achieve anything great by sitting in the office as compared to sitting at home. If that is the case, I might as well give you the flexibility, but don't make it an entitlement. This is where the challenge comes. Dr. Savan mentioned about it. The minute you make it a policy, it becomes an entitlement. Yes. And as it is, you have a challenge of the Gen Z working with an entitlement mindset. So I have had somebody come and ask me that it is your responsibility to groom me from a executive trainee to the managing director. I said, I don't know where to look for that.
Also, sir, just add on insight to that, it creates a kind of a mental conditioning from a very early age that students also do not wish the trades who are going to the manufacturing. They are also preferring to the IT and such kind of, you can say, where these practices are more prevailing. So yeah.
The cycle is, it's all a cycle. The cycle is turned. I think after 2 years, you will find that everybody wants to come to manufacturing. It's a cycle.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful sharing, sir, from your side. Lot of takeaways. At least I have listed down 12 to 15 points right from the first statement that many a times HR is taken for granted to the last statement that HR plus ER plus PR. There were a lot of insights, lot of real life examples, like second career in Tata and, Chakraview, wonderful ideas that you have shared. Let us, give a thunderous round of applause to sir for sharing these experiences and insights.